No man has lost his arms in more brutal ways than Jax Briggs, and I'm here to prove it. Jax Briggs was simply this shirtless block of muscle who saved Sonya Blade and did little else. But after his introduction in Mortal Kombat 2 from 1993, creators Ed Boon and John Tobias upgraded him in MK3. He got metal arms that he would use to protect the weak when he was not saving Sonya. But the thing is, the early arcade timeline gave Jax a much simpler explanation for the arms. It was not some tragic mutilation scene at first. In Mortal Kombat 3, he fitted himself with bionic implants to prepare for Shao Kahn's invasion, and only later did the franchise start giving him more brutal, body horror style arm origins. And in this video, that's exactly what I'm going to discuss. That's every origin of Jax from Mortal Kombat and the several curious cases of his missing arms. Let's begin, shall we? The first two live-action movies. Jax has had a slightly odd journey in the Mortal Kombat movies. Let's take his first live-action role. Here, he was not really a major Earthrealm warrior, and instead, they projected him as more of a guy who was simply trying to keep Sonya from making some very questionable and bad travel decisions. And that's pretty much why, in the 1995 Mortal Kombat film, he has a brief role and is played by Gregory McKinney. In that movie, Jax accompanies Sonya during the raid on Kano's club and later tries, albeit without much luck, to stop her from boarding Shang Tsung's boat near the opening stretch of the film. So yes, Jax was there, but the movie did not have any big plans for him. But as Mortal Kombat expanded further into film and TV, that changed, and Jax started becoming more and more important. Mortal Kombat Annihilation gave him a much larger role. This time around, Jax Briggs was played by former American Gladiators actor Lynn Red Williams. In the Annihilation movies, Sonya finds him at a military research facility where he is using bionic strength enhancers on his arms. These are not the tragic replacement arms of later continuities, but more like combat upgrades that boost his strength. These upgrades became pretty useful because Shao Kahn had invaded Earthrealm and everyone was on the clock. In fact, it is not long after Sonya meets him that she and Jax are attacked by one of Kahn's extermination squads, led by Cyrax, the Lin Kuei assassin turned cyborg. Eventually, Sonya recruits Jax into the Earthrealm team against Shao Kahn and his forces. He battles Cyrax and later defeats the Centurion Motaro, played by Darren McBee, who was a fellow Gladiators alumnus. The film briefly explores Jax's dependence on his arm enhancements, and he eventually has to defeat Motaro without them. But yeah, the only issue people raised with this version of Jax was that some of his dialogue smelled strongly of stereotypes often associated with black characters, which, well, has aged about as gracefully as you'd expect. Mortal Kombat 2021. Sub-Zero freezes and shatters Jax's arms. Now, the 2021 version of Jax Briggs was definitely one of the rougher and tougher introductions that the man has received, and honestly, the man earns respect before he even gets the famous metal arms. In this installment, he was a Special Forces Major, a natural-born protector, and one of the few people who had spent years trying to uncover the truth behind Mortal Kombat. Furthermore, the man had done like 6 tours of duty, so even before mystical nonsense, he was a veteran soldier. He also had the same dragon marking as Cole Young, though unlike Cole, Jax actually knew very well that the mark meant something. Unlike Cole, who was seemingly born with a tattoo, Jax earned his by killing a wanted fugitive with superhuman abilities during a mission in Brazil. In the movie itself, he first appears during one of Cole Young's MMA fights, championship days like ancient history. Jax even tells him he could have won that day if he had controlled the cage, which, as many of you may know, is a very Jax thing to say. I mean, the man was investigating an ancient death tournament and still had time for cage fight notes. Then he notices the dragon logo on Cole's skin and asks where it came from. Cole's daughter Emily says he was born with it, and when Jax looks confused, she clarifies that it is a birthmark. Jax gets Cole to reveal it properly, then leaves, because now he knows Cole is involved whether the guy likes it or not. Just as Jax probably anticipated or expected, Sub-Zero attacks Cole and his family, and Jax intercepts them, gets them into a truck, and radios someone named Blade to say he has them. Of course, we know who this Blade is. Anyway, Then he finally tells Cole the truth that the mark is not a birthmark. It means Cole has been chosen to fight for something called Mortal Kombat. Cole very sensibly says Jax has the wrong person, because if a stranger tells you your skin logo has drafted you into a supernatural death tournament, the first thing you do is deny such claims, right? But Jax warns him that enemies will keep coming for him and his family as long as he has the mark. He tells Cole to get his family to safety, then finds Sonya Blade in Gary, Indiana. Cole offers to stay and fight, but Jax shuts that down because, as he puts it, that would be a death sentence. And he is not being dramatic. Jax remains behind to face Sub-Zero instead of running away so that he could buy Cole some time. He is brave, trained, and committed. But we also know that Sub-Zero is on another level entirely. The Cryomancer freezes both of Jax's arms all the way up to his torso, then shatters them. After that, he kicks Jax from the heights where they fight and leaves him for dead. I believe this horrid treatment must have felt worse to Jax than the injuries themselves, mostly because Sub-Zero took away Jax's greatest weapons and tools, things that defined him as a man of strength and service. Melina later reports to Shang Tsung of Outworld that Jax is dead, but thankfully she is wrong. When Sonya reaches Lord Raiden's temple with Cole and Kano, she learns that Liu Kang found Jax and brought him to the temple. She asks if he will live, and Liu Kang explains that the ice cauterized his wounds. He also says they have searched every realm for ways to heal him. Sonya asks what she can do, and Liu Kang tells her to be patient. But then that's such a terrible thing to hear when someone you really care about is suffering and struggling so badly. Anyway, Jax is later fitted with crude bionic arms, but they just felt super off. And once he recovers enough to test the arms, he says they do not work, and that they quote-unquote aren't him. You see, Jax is not being vain here. He has lost a core part of himself, and these weak replacements feel little more than a cruel joke to him. But gradually, the man starts to lose his confidence and even goes on to say that he is useless without his arms. But Sonya simply was not gonna give up on Jax and reminded him of the time she first joined his unit, when they had to run 20 miles and she thought she was going to die. She wanted to quit, and she admits that all she ever wanted was to be accepted by him. Then she repeats the lesson he gave her. You keep going by proving to yourself that you can do this, or you regret it for the rest of your life. And I think all of us can actually learn a little something from that one, yeah? Jax asks if she is trying to tell him something, and Sonya, with no patience left for inspirational speeches, tells him to get off his ass. He laughs, but clearly he takes the point. Jax then joins the other champions as they train for Mortal Kombat. Though things are not exactly going well, neither Cole nor Kano has unlocked their arcana. Jax joins the others in taunting Kano, who seems to have plenty of mouth and not much skill. Naturally, that anger helps Kano unlock his own arcana, lasers from his eye. Cole still fails to unlock his power at that stage, and Raiden sends him home. Then Shang Tsung's forces invade Raiden's temple after Kano betrays the group. Kano uses his eye laser to short out Raiden's protective energy shield, because of course, the loudest guy in the room also becomes the security problem. The battle goes badly for Earthrealm's champions, and Jax still has not unlocked his arcana. He tries to fight Reiko, but the Outworld brute uses his massive hammer and slams him to the ground. It is not Jax's proudest moment, but then he simply cannot stay down. After the fight, he finds Sonya trapped under a huge pile of rubble, left for dead by Kano. Jax tries to move the debris and screams for help, and that burst of desperation unlocks his arcana. His bionic arms reinforce themselves with new power, and he lifts the massive weight off Sonya. So yes, the arms finally work, but only when Jax acts from the same place he always has. Protect first, worry later. Close to the end of the movie, Jax once again confronts Reiko, but this time around, Jax has the upper hand, or shall I say, upgraded arms. He makes quick work of Reiko, and then looks at his arms and says, "These mother effers work." I mean, fair review. And I had to keep the profanity away, guys. You know how it is. So yeah, that's how Jax fares in the 2021 movie. But about the last one, Mortal Kombat 2 2026, Jax's shocking sequel death. Spoiler warning for Mortal Kombat 2 2026. Unlike most established franchises that give their heroes and protagonists some sort of plot armor, these remain some where no one's safe. Like consider Game of Thrones, for instance. People lost their bloody minds when people like Ned died, or the whole Red Wedding thing. Likewise, Mortal Kombat also offers its heroes a very limited and weak form of plot armor. And unfortunately, Jax is one of those whose plot armor proved weaker than Shao Kahn's will to kill him, so our heroes and Jax plan to raid this very secure stronghold in Edenia so that the amulet of Shinnok could be stolen, because Shao Kahn could not be defeated as long as he had the said amulet. Anyway, the amulet had been kept secure in such a cage that it was impossible for Liu Kang alone to free it. But Shao Kahn arrives at the scene to protect what he considered was his. He fights Sonya and Liu Kang, while Jax somehow manages to free the amulet as Shao Kahn is distracted with the other heroes. But things go to hell when Shao Kahn forces Jax into a one-on-one fight. Jax puts up the kind of brave fight you expect from him, but Shao Kahn is simply too powerful. The fight ends with Jax being brutally killed, making him one of the sequel's biggest shock deaths. Mortal Kombat Special Forces, Jax before the tournament. Although Jax first appeared in Mortal Kombat 2 from 1993, his story technically started in Mortal Kombat Special Forces from 2000. In the story, Kano helps rebuild the Black Dragon by freeing No-Face, Tasia, Jarek, and Tremor from Special Forces custody, which turns Jax's mission into a revenge-driven manhunt. After a prison break at a Special Forces detention facility, Jax is on a highway where Gemini, another Special Forces operative, contacts him with the details. Turns out that No-Face, Tasia, Jarek, and Tremor have escaped, and they have fled to a warehouse on the south side of town. Gemini also suspects they had outside help, and Jax immediately figures that the source must be Kano. Then Lieutenant Sanchez reports that his squad has reached the warehouse, but the transmission cuts off. When Jax arrives, he finds the squad massacred. Naturally, this one becomes more than a simple manhunt. This time, it is personal, and Jax swears vengeance against Kano. To even the odds, he wears prototype bionic implants on his arms, which boost his strength and turn him into an even bigger problem for anyone unlucky or dumb enough to stand in his way. From here on, Jax starts tearing through the Black Dragon operation one piece at a time. He first enters the warehouse and defeats No-Face. Then he moves into the sewers and eliminates Tasia. Gemini contacts him again and tells him the Black Dragon have been operating out of a corporate building. Criminal, punch criminal, find next criminal to punch. Anyway, his investigation then takes him to the lost city of Xinjiang, where he faces Tremor and beats the hell out of him. Furthermore, here Jax also discovers a portal to Outworld, which Tremor has been protecting, and this guy has reasonable doubt that this portal might just be connected to Kano's plan for global domination. Jax enters Outworld and catches up with Kano, who has acquired an artifact called the Eye of Chichen, a source of great power. The two fight and Jax wins, following which he uses the Eye to return them both to Earthrealm. He also brings Kano into custody, but Kano later escapes. Now, this is kind of followed up in the 1993 game. Mortal Kombat 2 video game, the first official Jax, Sonya's commander enters Outworld. So, as I mentioned earlier, Mortal Kombat 2 was where Jax entered the game canon. In Mortal Kombat 2, Jax enters the story as Sonya Blade's commanding officer. After Sonya disappears while pursuing Kano, Jax follows the trail into Outworld, where he helps rescue her and once again tries to bring Kano back into custody. And from Jax's point of view, that makes sense. Sonya and Kano are missing, Outworld is involved, and Earthrealm's government still does not fully understand the scale of the threat. Jax travels into the Outworld with the others, all the while hoping to find Sonya. There, he learns about Shao Kahn's plans for the Earthrealm, frees Sonya from Kahn's control, and arrests Kano again. Sadly, Kano escapes once they pass through the portal to Earth. Jax warns his government about everything he has learned and the threat that Shao Kahn poses, but once again, even the government people do not believe him, which must be maddening after he has literally been to Outworld and back. Mortal Kombat 3 / Ultimate MK3 / Trilogy, the voluntary bionic arms origin. In the old arcade era, Mortal Kombat continuity, Jax's metal arms were not born from some tragic body horror moment. He did not get his arms ripped off by Ermac, and that whole incident happens much later. Back here, as in the original timeline and the MK3 period to be specific, the bionic arms were largely a choice that Jax himself made, and if you think about it, this whole decision transforms the whole flavour of his origin story. Jax saw Shao Kahn's invasion as one of the greatest threats ever faced by Earthrealm, and rightly so, but in the previous game, he failed to convince his superiors about it. They just could not believe, even from a decorated soldier like him, that Outworld was a real danger, so Jax was like, to hell with you guys, and decided, fine, if nobody wants to listen, he'll prepare for the goddamn war himself. So he covertly fits both arms with indestructible bionic implants, not because he was broken, but because Earthrealm needed a soldier who could hit back hard when the time came. And since he knew what lay in Outworld and what kind of evil it could spit out, he could not risk half-ass measures. You can even draw a contrast with Kano here. Kano uses cybernetics for crime and survival, while Jax turns technology into a defensive weapon. So in Mortal Kombat 3, Ultimate MK3, and Trilogy, Jax was more ready for the war than he was in MK2. The second time he faced Shao Kahn's forces, he was not playing catch-up anymore. He's described as possibly the strongest man on Earth, and he proves it by beating Kahn's armies before defeating Kahn himself. After Earth returns to normal, Jax and Sonya create the Outer World Investigation Agency, or the OIA, and Jax commands its exploratory division from an underground bunker, with the scouts sent across different realms to map them and locate portals that could lead back to Earth. Those portals had to be destroyed. He even helps open portals through science instead of magic, and leads the first expedition into a mysterious new realm. The OIA era, Jax becomes Earthrealm's Realm War Commander. Now, the OIA era was where Jax rose from simply serving as Sonya's backup or protector. It was time for him to become one of Earthrealm's most important defense operators. After the Outworld conflict, he and Sonya became involved with the Outer World Investigation Agency, the special forces branch that was especially built for realm-level events, kinda like S.H.I.E.L.D. from Marvel. Basically, Jax goes from soldier to realm security director, and although this was a big promotion, it was pretty obvious because Jax has had his fair share of experience with all kinds of portals, monsters, and the occasional sorcerer's stuff. In Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, his agents Kenshi and Cyrax were lost in Outworld, and the OIA's underground facility had been blown to pieces by Su Hao, a traitor who was actually a member of the Red Dragon. And this guy went a bit too far when he used an ion pulse bomb to destroy the facility. Soon after, Raiden summons the Earthrealm warriors to Shang Tsung's abandoned island and asks them to travel with him to Outworld to stop the deadly alliance of Shang Tsung and Quan Chi. Jax does not hesitate from going on this kill trip, but then he also has his own business to handle and his own thirst for revenge to quench. He uses the mission as cover to hunt Su Hao down, and once he catches him, he kills him by tearing out his artificial heart. Su Hao dies a most painful death, yes, but when you consider that the man practically destroyed the OIA, Jax's actions seem quite satisfying. After that, Jax stands with the other warriors against the Deadly Alliance, but the fight ends very badly, and unfortunately he is killed along with his allies. In Deception and Unchained, Onaga later revives him as a mindless drone and uses him to threaten the surviving members of the group before attacking them. Once Liu Kang's spirit frees him, Jax joins the fight against the Dragon King and is more than ready to make Onaga answer for what Onaga made him do. Then in Armageddon, Sonya sends him to lead a special forces team after Sector's Tekunin warship is destroyed, but they vanish and are captured by the Tekunin. His cybernetic bioscanners send strange readings before contact is lost, which leaves Sonya fearing he may be dead. Later, Jax joins the forces of light and breaks Quan Chi's leg in battle, very satisfyingly, I must add. Anyway, he is later attacked by Shao Kahn, and Jax once again dies with many other combatants. But yeah, his corpse is later seen impaled on a spear in the Mortal Kombat 2011 intro, which I will be talking about in just a bit. But before that, let me just quickly check out his fate in the Malibu comics, where his bionic arms have a different origin. Malibu Comics, Jax gets a comic book injury path towards mechanical arms. Malibu Comics, Jax had quite a different journey to his mechanical arms. In this continuity, more specifically in Mortal Kombat Tournament Edition 2, number 1, Baraka very badly slashes Jax's arms, so he does not really sever them from his body. Like, the arms are still attached, but they are badly damaged enough that Sonya has to mention the possibility of mechanical replacements, which then becomes part of the Special Forces side of the Malibu canon. Now, I do want to talk about the timing of all this. You see, Malibu began its Mortal Kombat comics in 1994, when Mortal Kombat 2 was still fresh, and Mortal Kombat 3 was close on the horizon by the time the run ended. So it makes sense that this version goes towards the Jax from the MK2 era, and as you will remember from what I told you earlier, this was before the later games turned his metal arms into a, well, what can I say, into a more defined visual identity, for the lack of a better phrase. The curious thing is, these comics had a very loose relationship with the game's tournament structure. They pretty much sacrificed the whole formal tournament thing and moved into MacGuffin hunts. Like Malibu took out the combat out of Mortal Kombat, if you think about it. And this madness reached its peak in Tournament Edition 2, where Shao Kahn split the cast into heroes and villains and made them play a deadly capture the flag match with Earthrealm at stake. But Jax gets removed from the board early on, so there's no point really talking about him in this video. Mortal Kombat 2011. Ermac rips Jax's arms apart. Clearly one of the more recent versions of the franchise, this one is the alternate timeline from 2011, also called Mortal Kombat 9. And this alternate timeline gives Jax an arm origin that I think most modern fans remember. I mean, if you're not an 80s or 90s kid, you've probably not played the game the old way like I played it. Anyway, this is the NRS reboot timeline, where the game serves as both a sequel and a reboot. So the game's story begins with Raiden on the cusp of defeat from Shao Kahn, and he uses a hard-earned window of opportunity to send a warning to his past self through time. The plan was to prevent Outworld's Emperor from taking over all realms, and this resulted in a new version of the first 3 games where, somehow, things became even worse for Earthrealm. This guy probably creates more problems than he solves. Anyway, as far as Jax is concerned, he is captured by Shang Tsung even before the first tournament begins. Like you would expect, this makes Sonya Blade participate in the tournament, the reason being she wants to free him. She finds him badly hurt inside a cell in Goro's lair, but Shang Tsung had already expected her arrival. He forces her to face the elder Sub-Zero of the Lin Kuei, and Sonya defeats him. Raiden then helps her free Jax through a flash of light from his eyes. After that, Sonya takes Jax to the courtyard, where she fights Katana and Jade while they wait for help. The rescue chopper arrives, but Shang Tsung shoots it down. Anyway, eventually Raiden heals Jax's wounds, and Jax and Sonya agree to assist Earthrealm's warriors in the tournament. Afterward, Jax attends Liu Kang's ceremony at the Wuxi Academy, and during a conversation with Raiden, a rejuvenated Shang Tsung appears with Shao Kahn's offer, 1 ring to rule them all. No wait, wrong franchise. The offer was 1 tournament to decide Earthrealm's fate. But the Tarkatans attack the academy, and Jax tries to save civilians, but several Tarkatans overwhelm him and knock him unconscious. He later wakes up only to find that Sonya is gone. Turns out that Shang Tsung has taken her, and now it becomes Jax's responsibility to find her. I mean, these two play like the most demented form of hide and seek if you ask me. Anyway, they eventually find Sonya at the dead pool, guarded by Shiva and her soldiers, but they could not stop Jax from saving her. During the Outworld tournament, however, Jax and Sonya meet Sub-Zero again, only to learn this is the younger brother of the one killed by Scorpion. Ermac appears soon after, and for the uninitiated, he is the red, telekinetic ninja made of thousands of warrior souls. Jax attacks him, and Ermac does not merely defeat him, he destroys Jax's arms with telekinesis. Sonya somehow manages to get him out, and Sub-Zero defeats Ermac before telling her about a portal back to Earthrealm. Later, Jax returns with mechanical arms and reprograms the automated Cyber Sub-Zero, which helps him regain his humanity. He also stays with the Earth One warriors after that, though he does not take part in more major fights until the group is ambushed by Lin Kuei cyborgs and Sindel. Unfortunately, Jax dies when Sindel's heel pierces his throat and snaps his neck. But as it happens often in games and comic books, people do not stay dead for long, and neither did Jax. Quan Chi later resurrects and enslaves him, only to turn him into the first Revenant sent to kill Raiden in the Netherrealm, but then Raiden defeats him. But you know what? The 2011 timeline had another very crucial angle, one that's related to Jax's daughter and his love for her. Mortal Kombat 11, the broken older Jax and the Chronica Temptation. Apart from the physical damage that Jax suffered in Mortal Kombat 11, he was also subjected to one of the saddest psychological situations ever. And you will soon realise that this version moves you emotionally because he's not evil. I mean, he's just a game character, yeah, but you will still feel for him dearly. So Quan Chi turned him into a Revenant, but even after he was freed and restored to life, the experience and its related trauma did not go away. You could call it his version of PTSD, something that no regular soldiers would ever survive, and we know that they can sustain a lot. Anyway, the trauma stayed with him, and after being freed from Quan Chi's control, Jax retired from active duty, married Vera, and built a quieter life as Jackie's father. But by Mortal Kombat 11, Vera is dead. Jackie has followed him into Special Forces, and Jax is emotionally broken enough for Chronica to manipulate him. Naturally, Jackie grew up to become like her father, and much like him, she also wanted to join the Special Forces. but Jax knew exactly what it meant, and he simply hated Jackie's decision. And can we blame him? This man knows exactly what that life costs. He does not want his daughter to inherit the same pain, trauma, and endless war that chewed up his own life. But then even his wife Vera dies, and Jax ends up becoming nothing more than a grieving father and widower. So he was in a very vulnerable stage of his life. And that was when Kronika came to him. She offered him, wait for it, a better timeline. One where Jackie can be spared the Special Forces path altogether. But you see, he sees this crazy offer through the lens of a father's love and not hatred for the world. But yeah, he was blinded by the costs of such actions. Jax initially helps her at first, but his past self, Jackie and Raiden, eventually pull him back. He rejects Kronika and turns against her to return to the side of good. Mortal Kombat Rebirth and Mortal Kombat Legacy, the grenade sacrifice origin. Lastly, Jax also appeared in the short film Mortal Kombat Rebirth and Mortal Kombat Legacy, which was a TV series based on the Mortal Kombat universe, but one that was gritty and realistic. In Legacy, Jax's arm origin becomes a straight-up sacrifice moment. He shields Sonya from a grenade blast during the Kano operation, and his arms are damaged badly enough that the cybernetic replacements become necessary. It is less mystical than MK9 or the 2021 movie, but arguably more heroic. So yeah, that probably makes this Jax one of the most heroic versions in the entire franchise. So yeah, Jax is definitely one of the most heroic and brave men out there. He is a human with no mystical powers as such, but he makes up for them through his sheer grit and willpower, and there are not many like Jax Briggs. That was all in this one, guys. If you liked the video, please consider hitting the like, subscribe and share buttons. Those 2 clicks from you will help us tremendously in bringing you more of these awesome videos. Stay safe and have a good one.